Washington. Trump, back-to-back on the same stage. The Commander-in-Chief Forum, tomorrow at 8 on NBC and MSNBC.
President Obama in a, quote, candid and blunt meeting with Russia's President Vladimir Putin. The two met at the G20 summit in China. President Obama warned about cyber attacks on the United States that are apparently coming from Russia hackers.
What we cannot do is have a situation in which suddenly this becomes the wild, wild west, where countries that have significant cyber capacity start engaging in competition, unhealthy competition or conflict through these means.
Let's bring in Nina Khrushcheva, professor of international affairs at the New School. Always good to see you, Nina. Thanks for stopping by. Let's start with the president ended there. How likely is it that Mr. Putin will heed President Obama's warnings on Russia-directed cyber attacks?
Well, Vladimir Putin made it very clear that Russia has nothing to do with it, that Russia is not engaged in cyber terrorism. And as long as Putin is going to insist that he hasn't done it, and as long as the Americans are going to say probably, likely, maybe, it is possible, Putin will have plausible deniability. So I'm not sure that the heeding will happen, because it does seem that a lack of absolute, not conviction, but sort of absolute insistence that Russia did it, except for political conversations, actually gives Putin some sort of leeway.
Well, what do we know about the probability that it was, in fact, Russia? I mean, are these the kinds of shenanigans that the Russian government typically engages in?
Well, absolutely. I mean, as even James Clapper said, that countries spy on each other at all times. It's just they're not really making it public and visible, as happened with the DNC hack and the leak of those on WikiLeaks. That's something that is new. But then, of course, the person who was accused of those fines and in fact actually was indicted was a Romanian-born, and Russians say, well, there's nothing to do with that because he has been known for doing this for quite some time. So once again, as long as probable, maybe, possibly, likely is going to exist in American language, Putin will have a way to say, well, everybody does it, and by the way, I didn't do it.
You mentioned the Democratic National Committee email hack. Democrats have charged that it was, in fact, Putin trying to exert influence over the election in favor of Donald Trump. This is what Secretary Clinton said about that yesterday.
I think it's quite intriguing that this activity has happened around the time Trump became the nominee. And look, he very early on allied himself with Putin's policies.
Why would Vladimir Putin want to see Donald Trump in the White House instead of Hillary Clinton?
Well, Donald Trump many times said that he likes Vladimir Putin. He actually wants businesses in Russia. He tried to arrange businesses in Russia. He had a beauty pageant there at one time. And so he likes strong leaders. I mean, that's a given. He likes people who say it like it is and shoot from the hip and whatnot. So Putin is very twin-like for Trump. But in many more ways, I think, and of course that is very convenient for Putin, because Trump says, well, we'll look at NATO and we don't know. We're maybe admit that Crimea's annexation was not such a crime and whatnot. So all these things that Putin does welcome, because he does say that it would be very, very refreshing if the United States would have good relationship with Russia, and he's the one to push it forward. So for Putin, that's convenient. I think what goes against Trump, for Putin, that's why he's very lukewarm, at least when you listen to him in Russian when he speaks about Trump, is that Trump is unpredictable. We have no idea what Trump is going to do. Today is Putin's friend, and tomorrow, they would fight over the nuclear code.
Let's talk about this Washington Post article from this morning. The United States investigating a potential covert Russian operation to sow public distrust in the upcoming election. That's coming from the Washington Post. Why would disrupting the election process be of Russian interest?
Well, Russia has especially lately, but certainly in the Soviet times, just the perception that they have so much power, that they can influence that great juggernaut American elections, is really gives a great reputation for a country that is vying for its own power, tries to become a superpower again. So in this sense, it's once again very convenient for Vladimir Putin's reputation.
That stare down that we just saw really quickly, 10 seconds, you see those two staring at each other like that. Not that picture, but the one that one. What's happening there?
Well, we've been analyzing and reanalyzing their relationship for years now. It's always the same stare. They clearly despise each other. They don't respect each other. Clearly, they don't respect each other. For Putin is that, thank God Barack Obama is going to be out of the office, and Putin plans to stay on for at least a decade. So that's where they stand.
Nina Khrushcheva, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Back to school, back to work for law.